without a kill will result in everyone being summoned to the lobby to face a huge disaster. A purple light appears, and people panic, shouting what it is. Looking at a claw coming out of the lightning, someone points it out. Hoyoung's legs freeze as he looks at the giant monster at an unknown level. Juno shouts for him to get out of the way, but Hoyoung thinks Kumkum expects them to fight that. A thunderous explosion erupts, throwing everyone to the ground. Lee Hoyoung gazes at the colossal monster towering before him, thinking that this is truly a disaster. A man, trembling, asks if this nightmare is real, wondering how they are supposed to fight it when they barely made it past the first floor. A woman, her face pale with fear, pleads desperately for help, as she doesn't want to die. Observing the chaos, Lee Hoyoung realizes that panic has overtaken everyone. The monster lets out a deafening roar, its massive fist poised to strike a nearby man. Lee Hoyoung quickly intervenes, helping the man evade the attack. Grateful, the man thanks him, but Lee Hoyoung, still bewildered, wonders when the second floor's mission hasn't even started yet. So what is this creature doing here? Kumkum, with a hint of sarcasm, comments on how terrifying the monster is. Reflecting on Kumkum's earlier words, Lee Hoyoung recalls the warning that if no kill occurs every 30 minutes, everyone would be immediately summoned to the lobby to face a huge disaster. He speculates that they might be staging this spectacle to make them take the mission seriously. And if that's the case, then this is merely a preview of the trials ahead, and the monster isn't truly trying to harm them. Kim Jun-song and Kim Seon fight the monster with all their might, but it remains unfazed. Kim Jun-song, frustrated, exclaims that nothing is happening no matter how many arrows he fires, while Kim Seon curses in exasperation. Watching their futile efforts, Lee Hoyoung grits his teeth, thinking that this might not be just for show, and starts to wonder if the monster is genuinely trying to kill them. But his attention is drawn to Chae Yesil, who, while healing the injured, declares she has no more mana left. Seeing the injured, Lee Hoyoung acknowledges that although no one has died yet, that won't remain the case for long. A man shouts a warning as the monster prepares for another attack. Lee Hoyoung commands everyone to stand back, understanding that there's no time for hesitation. He charges forward, his mind racing nonstop. Seo Chuno shouts at him to get away, but Lee Hoyoung, lost in determination, knows that if he can't stop the monster, everyone will die. With resolute focus, he considers the synergy between the indomitable sword and the stab, charging at the monster with level 8 basic swordsmanship. He hopes that his attack might have an effect. Suddenly, the monster dissipates into the wind, leaving everyone staring in stunned silence. Lee Hoyoung, equally shocked, processes the unexpected turn of events. The stunned silence breaks as everyone starts cheering and chanting his name. Lee Hoyoung, still holding the sword, marvels at its power, wondering if it's truly that strong. He feels that this experience is unlike anything he has ever encountered. Then he notices a status window indicating that he will be in an exhausted state for 3 minutes due to overexertion. He exclaims in disbelief and collapses, thinking he is doomed as his name echoes around him. Moments later, Lee Hoyoung regains consciousness to find people calling his name. The status window shows that his exhausted state has been lifted. As he pants, he hears Chae Yesil and Kim Jun-song expressing concern, while Seo Chuno, with eyes gleaming, admires his humility despite his strength, even finding his fainting at the last moment perfect. Struggling to his feet, Lee Hoyoung, feeling lightheaded, asks what happened to the huge disaster. Seo Chuno begins to explain, but Kumkum interjects, revealing that the monster was sent back and that this was just a prelude to make them serious about the mission. Lee Hoyoung, with a stunning expression, realizes it was indeed just a test. Kumkum adds that it wasn't very exciting because everyone was too friendly, despite nearly dying. It also brings their attention to the rule that a kill must happen every 30 minutes, which implies that the people beside them might be their killers. A chilling silence envelops the crowd. Kumkum declares its message delivered and disappears. Gritting his teeth, Lee Hoyoung wonders if there's no way to counter this situation. The blue light appears again, and Seo Chuno grimly states that if they can't identify the fakes, they will have to kill each other. Lee Jae-kyul urges them to find a solution quickly. Someone suggests marking everyone since the fakes share their memories. Another man questions about what they should do next. Lee Hoyoung draws their attention as he says he has an idea. Chae Yesil, intrigued, asks what he has in mind. Lee Hoyoung proposes that during the mission, only he will act while everyone else gathers at the highest place on the second floor. And if anyone else takes action, they should be considered a fake and dealt with accordingly. A bulky figure, level 9 On Sichang, a soldier and former Special Forces member, questions the plan. A woman skeptical of Li Huiyang's low level asks why they should follow his plan. Li Huiyang reminds them of Kumkum's warning that there is no reward for killing a fake, but a player who kills another player gains stat points and gold. He emphasizes that the tower wants them to kill each other, not the fakes, and he refuses to play by the tower's rules any longer, believing this is the best solution. Kim Jun-song agrees, suggesting they could minimize harm in this way. He then asks Li Huiyang if he can identify the fakes. Li Huiyang grins confidently while thinking that, of course, he does. In the forest, the status window indicates the second floor's mission has begun, and they must kill at least one person within 30 minutes. There are 16 players and 16 fakes. Kim Seon, annoyed by the risky plan, hides behind a tree. A voice calls out, and noting his size makes him easy to spot. Relieved, Kim Seon comes out after recognizing Li Huiyang and expresses his relief as he thought his big brother was a fake. But with a swift slash, Li Huiyang splits Kim Seon's body in two, ending his life in an instant. As they enter the forest, Li Huiyang insists on handling the killing himself. A status window announces the start of the second floor mission. Players must kill at least one person within 30 minutes. With 16 players and 16 fakes, Huiyang's eyes are locked on the guide status window. It reveals that the first player to reach a certain sensitivity level will receive the impeccable senses skill, an ability crucial for identifying fakes. Huiyang feels a mix of pride and anxiety as his earlier boast about distinguishing fakes seems to come true with this skill. However, as he watches his stats decline, he wonders how many points he needs to invest. Suddenly, another status window congratulates him for being the first to achieve a sensitivity stat of 50, awarding him the impeccable senses skill. This ability significantly enhances his senses, allowing him to gather detailed information about anyone within a certain radius. Li Huiyang looks at his hand, now glowing with a blue aura, and marvels at the newfound clarity in his perception, as if the world has gained a sharper filter. He then hears mumbling nearby. Recognizing the voice, Huiyang realizes it is Kim Seon, grumbling about Huiyang's suggestion to gather at the top without taking action, calling it reckless and lamenting the climb. Li Huiyang is impressed by his acute hearing as he spots Seon 500 meters away. However, a foul stench soon hits him, revealing that the figure is not Seon but a fake. The status window confirms that a fake has been killed, updating the count to 16 players and 15 fakes, with the mission still requiring a kill within 30 minutes. Li Huiyang feels a pang of guilt as the fake had perfectly mimicked Kim Seon until its death. He hopes the others are following his plan, recalling their initial agreement, bolstered by Kim Jun-song's support, though real-time events remain unpredictable. Li Huiyang finishes off another fake, only to realize with growing horror that another player has died, bringing the count to 14 players and 14 fakes. He frantically searches for the killer, his heart racing as he follows sounds that lead him to the fake of level 5 Go Youngwoo, who has just murdered a player. He kills it and the status window updates to 14 players and 13 fakes. Although he had suspected this fake, he feels a surge of relief for stopping it before more damage is done. As he mourns the loss of level 4 Li Bianchiol, he notices that the wound isn't consistent with Go Youngwoo's weapon but is an arrow wound. He looks around and Kim Jun-song, with a bow ready to attack, catches his eye. He immediately hides behind a tree, realizing there might be another culprit. When Kim Jun-song shouts, asking who's there, Li Huiyang sees the arrow wound on Jun-song's shoulder and wonders if it was self-inflicted by his fake. Approaching cautiously, he tries to explain, but Jun-song, still suspicious, maintains his distance. Li Huiyang points to the dead fake, convincing Jun-song of his identity. Kim Jun-song warns Huiyang about his own fake before collapsing, and Huiyang rushes to help him. After a while, Li Huiyang helps Kim Jun-song to walk, and they move forward together. Overcome with guilt, Jun-song apologizes to Huiyang, expressing regret that if he hadn't escaped, others might still be alive and that he has only caused trouble. The horrifying thought of a malevolent fake bearing his likeness and causing chaos weighs heavily on him. Li Huiyang reassures him, insisting that he is not to blame as they are all victims of the tower's cruel trials, and their sole focus must be on escaping alive. Suddenly, Li Huiyang's senses sharpen as he sees Che Yiziol and Seo Chuno rushing towards them, calling his name. Che Yiziol, visibly relieved, announces that they are safe and shares her worry after hearing about the deaths of other players. Seo Chuno, equally distressed, expresses disbelief at the rapid loss of two players. Cha Yiseol quickly examines Kim Jun-song's injuries and offers to heal him. However, Lee Hoi-young interjects, urging Kim Jun-song to step back, as the approaching figures are not the real ones but fakes. Kim Jun-song, stunned, watches as Seo Chun-ho's fake charges at Lee Hoi-young and laments about an old grudge from a death mission, questioning whether Lee Hoi-young still holds resentment despite his reputed kindness. Their swords clash with a sharp metallic ring. Kim Jun-song also joins the fight as he tells Hoi-young that he'll confront the other fake. Lee Hoi-young, confused by the boldness of these fakes, wonders why they dare face him so audaciously, especially when one of them holds Yiseol's memories, which should make them aware of his strength. Cha Yiseol's fake seizes the moment when Hoi-young is lost in his thoughts and attacks him from behind. But he evades her strike with skill. As both fakes continue their assault, Lee Hoi-young expertly dodges their attacks. Just as he continues to counter, an arrow narrowly misses his face, and Kim Jun-song's voice cuts through, complaining about the missed opportunity with a disdainful smirk. A few moments earlier, as Lee Hoi-young takes down the fakes of Go Young-woo, Kim Jun-song, a 35-year-old archer with a past as a fisherman from Wonyang, watches from behind a tree, a smirk curling on his lips. With a practiced ease, he knocks an arrow, revealing his dark hobby of cumin fishing. In the present moment, Kim Jun-song reflects on his slip into dialect, realizing his excitement got the better of him. He taunts Lee Hoi-young, asking him what emotions are churning inside him: betrayal, futility, or anger. Lee Hoi-young, recognizing the madness in Kim Jun-song's eyes, realizes that this man is even more deranged than he had thought, and says to him that he was wondering when he would show his true colors. Kim Jun-song responds as if Lee Hoi-young had expected this betrayal. Lee Hoi-young remembers the time he helped Kim Jun-song walk and told him that he could see the stats of others, and he noted how dramatically Jun-song's numbers had risen. He accuses Kim Jun-song of being a murderous psychopath. Kim Jun-song's fascination grows, his tone laced with envy as he asks if Lee Hoi-young has somehow received the tower's favor. Lee Hoi-young, dismissive of the small talk, demands to know why Jun-song is willing to kill others, questioning whether the allure of golden stats is really worth it. He points his sword, its blue aura glowing menacingly, directly at Jun-song. Kim Jun-song, unfazed, explains with a twisted sense of satisfaction that in this world, killing people brings rewards, not penalties. He draws back his bow and releases an arrow towards him. Lee Hoi-young, who had hoped there might be a deeper motive behind Jun-song's actions, realizes his mistake. Jun-song is simply a psychopath who was biding his time. As Cha Yiseol's and Seo Chun-ho's fakes close in, Lee Hoi-young clashes with them while dodging Kim Jun-song's relentless arrows. He breaks each one with precise movements, but a few scratches mar his face. He lands hard on the ground, gritting his teeth and recognizing that Jun-song hasn't shown all his cards yet. Lee Hoi-young takes a strategic glance at the fake's formation. He observes Cha Yiseol and Seo Chun-ho positioned behind him. Cha Yiseol, renowned as the finest close combatant in the area, and Seo Chun-ho, the most skilled healer. Their presence, combined with Kim Jun-song, a formidable attacker stationed in front of them, creates a nearly impenetrable team. Turning his attention to Kim Jun-song, Lee Hoi-young acknowledges the impressive effort he put into convincing the fakes. Kim Jun-song, with an arrow in hand and a confident smirk playing on his lips, makes the remark that catching a big fish requires significant effort. He admits that he initially expected Hoi-young to fall easily, yet he finds him surprisingly resilient. He says that he relishes the challenge, eagerly anticipating the sight of Hoi-young's painful struggle before his inevitable defeat. He then commands the fakes to tighten their nets around Lee Hoi-young, while he draws and fires 3 more arrows with precision. Lee Hoi-young, utilizing his impeccable senses, assesses the well-coordinated balance of Jun-song's team. He reviews the stats of Cha Yiseol and Seo Chun-ho, noting their high levels of skill and capability. Despite the impressive team composition, Hoi-young realizes that even the best strategic setup might not be enough in the face of overwhelming strength. He engages in a fierce battle, his determination unwavering as he takes down the fakes one by one, despite their well-coordinated attacks. As the battle rages on, a status window pops up, confirming the deaths of both fakes and updating the numbers. The current count of players stands at 14, while the fakes are reduced to 11, with a reminder to kill at least one person within 30 minutes. As Lee Hoi-young approaches, Kim Jun-song collapses to his knees, drenched in sweat and trembling with fear. He begs desperately for his life, confessing that his obsession with rewards has driven him to madness and led him to cross boundaries he should never have approached. With a voice filled with desperation, he pleads for just one chance to make amends. But suddenly, a burst of manic laughter erupts from Jun-song as he springs up and attacks Huiyan, cursing him to go to hell. Li Huiyan remains calm and resolute, responding with a swift and decisive blow that cuts through Jun-song's attack. As Kim Jun-song falls, his final thoughts are filled with the painful realization that Huiyan is far more than just another formidable opponent. The status window flashes a chilling message. A player has died, leaving 13 players and 11 fakes remaining. At least one more person must be killed within the next 30 minutes. Li Huiyan stands tall, blood dripping from his sword, grappling with the grim reality that he has had to kill a living human. Just then, another status window interrupts his thoughts. It announces that the player who undertook the role of the Star Killer has met their end, and now he has the chance to step into their shoes. A crimson aura envelops him, filling him with confusion. The window reveals that accepting the Star Killer challenge will enhance his stats and grant him fake support, with tremendous rewards if he succeeds. As the red aura swirls around a peculiar woman who appears before him, Li Huiyan reflects on the earlier revelation about Jun-song's command over the fakes. He notes the staggering benefits of becoming the Star Killer: legendary rank equipment, legendary rank skill, a rapid increase in stat points, and the Star Killer exclusive trait. He thinks that despite his discomfort with killing fakes, he was able to kill them because he knew they weren't humans, but he understands that he may face more human opponents, potentially including other challengers for the Star Killer title, or maybe even someone who's the actual future Star Killer. Yet he cannot bring himself to become a psychotic killer like Kim Jun-song and decides to reject the challenge. As Li Huiyan walks towards the group, he notices everyone gathered, with Kim Seon particularly standing out, calling him Big Brother cheerfully. Kim Seon's bright eyes and friendly demeanor prompt Li Huiyan to momentarily consider adopting a more ruthless approach. Instead, he acknowledges the effort everyone put into following his plan and expresses his appreciation, recognizing the difficulty they faced. Despite his outward calm, he struggles to contain his own frustration. A man, accompanied by his fake, questions what their next move should be, pointing out how closely the two fakes resemble each other. His fake then inquires if Li Huiyan can truly distinguish the real from the fake. Li Huiyan affirms this, but before he can explain further, a voice interrupts, thanking them for adhering to the plan. Li Huiyan turns to see his own fake, realizing the situation has become even more tangled. Confusion spreads as a man asks how they should decide whom to trust, while a woman questions whether Li Huiyan had anticipated this twist. Li Huiyan reflects on the complications introduced by Kim Jun-song, which thwarted his plan to eliminate his fate beforehand. Now he faces a strategic duel with his mirror image. Li Jechiel, uncertain about who is genuine, asks for clarification on the situation and whether Li Huiyan has killed the fakes he mentioned. Li Huiyan realizes that there are currently 8 individuals who are either fakes or deceased players. If he reveals the names of the 5 fakes he has eliminated, it will reveal their identities. By proving this, he could also demonstrate his own status as a player. But he and his fake simultaneously announce the names of the deceased, leaving everyone stunned. Despite this, Li Huiyan braces himself, realizing the weight of the moment. His fake taunts the group, suggesting that the trust built between Kim Seon, Che Yiseol, and the real Li Huiyan makes it improbable for him to have killed their fakes first. This statement intensifies the doubt and suspicion among the crowd. A man accuses Li Huiyan of manipulating the situation, while a woman agrees, noting how obvious the trick seems. Cha Yiseol argues that they should not jump to conclusions based on a single account. The fake further complicates matters by suggesting that if his claims are true, Kim Jun-song must be the real fake, implying that the genuine Jun-song has been killed. This revelation shocks everyone, as Jun-song was the highest level member and their leader, making the idea of his death nearly inconceivable. The fake smirks, sensing an advantage, and accuses Li Huiyan of being the fake. A woman proposes attacking Li Huiyan and eliminating the remaining fakes, but Kim Seon protests, pointing out that this would mean he himself is a fake. Cha Yiseol agrees that they should avoid hasty judgments based on a single perspective. Seo Chino supports this, emphasizing the need for caution. Suddenly, someone warns that they have little time before the impending disaster strikes. Li Huiyan, contemplating the situation, realizes that praising the fake would be akin to praising himself. He acknowledges the fake's clever maneuvering. Addressing the group, he admits to killing Kim Jun-song, surprising the fake. He then thinks that there is a crucial detail that even his fake is unaware of. Jun-song had killed other players. Drawing his sword, Lee Hoyong declares that Jun-song was a traitor and, with a decisive strike, attacks Jun-song's fake, solidifying his stance. Kim Jun-song's doppelganger lets out a harsh cough, drawing attention to the tense atmosphere. Lee Hoyong's doppelganger erupts in fury, shouting at Hoyong, questioning what he thinks he is doing, and accusing him of acting recklessly now that he has nothing to say. Suddenly, Seo Chunho's voice cuts through the chaos as he asks Lee Hoyong if Kim Jun-song is truly a traitor and what that could possibly mean. Seo Chunho's mind races, trying to piece together the situation. If his suspicion is correct, the one who just attacked Kim Jun-song must be the real Lee Hoyong. The fact that everyone is gathered in one place gives the players an upper hand. When a doppelganger kills, their true nature is immediately revealed, preventing them from killing recklessly. Lee Hoyong, if he can identify and kill a doppelganger, can prove he is the real one. But now he is claiming Kim Jun-song is a traitor. Seo Chunho asks Hoyong if Jun-song killed humans. Lee Hoyong, with a serious expression, confirms with a yes, explaining that Kim Jun-song was a demon wearing the mask of a good person, hiding his true nature and biding his time. Kim Eunjin, with tears welling up, cries out in disbelief. She recalls when Kim Jun-song saved her from a kobold and asked if she was alright. The memory makes the accusation even more painful. Overcome with emotion, she rushes at Lee Hoyong to attack, but an arrow strikes her. She turns, stunned, to see Kim Jun-song's doppelganger behind her with his bow drawn. A status window appears, coldly stating that a player has died, updating the count to players. 12. Doppelgangers. 11. They must kill at least one person within 30 minutes. Lee Hoyong, frustrated, realizes Kim Jun-song's doppelganger still has enough strength to fight. Jun-song's doppelganger, with a twisted grin, laughs maniacally, enjoying the turmoil. Suddenly, another status window pops up, showing that a doppelganger has died. Players. 12. Doppelgangers. 10. An Se-chang, who has killed Kim Jun-song's doppelganger, apologizes to Lee Hoyong for doubting him. The room erupts with shouts of realization and urgency. People beg Hoyong to tell them what to do next. Lee Hoyong, feeling a sense of déjà vu, smiles and announces his final plan. But his doppelganger seizes the moment to attack from behind, forcing Hoyong to defend himself. Amid the clash, Lee Hoyong explains they need to loot all the gold and use it to raise their stats. As they follow his plan, increasing their stats with the gold, Hoyong's thoughts race. With their improved stats, they are now more formidable than before. As they make their way back to the tower following the intense completion of their mission, Lee Hoyong is deep in thought, reflecting on the narrowness of their victory. The battle had been grueling, but one significant advantage had been the doppelganger's unchanged stats since their entry onto the second floor. This discrepancy had given the players a crucial edge in the fight, tipping the scales just enough to secure their survival. An Se-chang's voice suddenly pulls Hoyong from his reverie. Se-chang, with a look of regret etched on his face, expresses his sorrow over the fact that they couldn't save everyone. Lee Hoyong, feeling a shared sense of disappointment, acknowledges his sentiments. He too is deeply affected by the losses they've endured. As he contemplates the future, Lee Hoyong is acutely aware of the daunting challenges that lie ahead. The thought of other regions struggling without a guide like him weighs heavily on his mind. He considers the increasing intensity of the battles to come and reflects on the unique ability he possesses to read the guide. He then resolves, with renewed determination, that despite the ongoing hardships and the toll they have taken, he is committed to saving as many lives as possible as long as there are people who believe in him. Lost in his reflections, Lee Hoyong is brought back to the present by An Se-chang, who stands before him with a look of earnest gratitude. He thanks Hoyong for his steadfast leadership throughout the ordeal. Lee Hoyong, ever humble, shifts the credit to the team's collective effort and cooperation, recognizing that their success was a group achievement rather than his alone. An Se-chang, contemplating Hoyong's slower leveling progress, speculates that it might be linked to his special ability. Impressed by Se-chang's caution and decision-making, Lee Hoyong sees him as a valuable ally. An Se-chang bows deeply, his gesture filled with sincere regret for the doubts he had previously harbored. This apology is heartfelt, and it is not long before others in the group follow suit, expressing their own remorse for underestimating Lee Hoyong. Kim Seong, breaking the tension with a hearty laugh, playfully teases the group about their failure to see Hoyong's true potential earlier. Chae Yiseol, with a hint of pride, claims she was the first to recognize Hoyong's extraordinary abilities. Seo Chuno, his eyes brimming with tears, also offers a final apology. In a touching and heartfelt moment, An Se-chang, despite the recent turmoil, asks Lee Hoyong to continue leading them through the challenges ahead. Hoyong, momentarily taken aback by the request, allows a warm smile to spread across his face. After a brief pause, he agrees, accepting the role of their leader with a sense of renewed purpose and determination. The status window announces that it is calculating gold rewards based on individual contributions. Lee Jae-cheol, beaming with joy, exclaims that they're getting gold too as 700G gets added to his profile. A woman shares his excitement, delighted with her 500G reward. Their celebration, however, pales in comparison to Kim Seong's exuberance. He bursts out loudly as he receives a whopping gold prize, proclaiming with pride that he's the man rewarded with 2,000G. Lee Hoyong watches him, speechless, then thinks to himself that it looks like everyone managed to get some gold because they followed his plan. He smiles, feeling gratified that they all received something. While he eyes his own reward of 12,500G, a status window catches his attention, stating that since he has obtained more than 10,000G, his shop's rank will be increased. Glancing at the shop window, he thinks that this must be how the system works. If he wants to purchase rare items, he needs to elevate his shop's rank. He decides to purchase skill ups, level 3, with 5000G, and his level 2 basic swordsmanship levels up to level 3. Reflecting on his earlier battle with the colossal monster, he recalls how he had unknowingly used a higher level of swordsmanship, but fainted right after. He smiles, thinking that being able to use such a skill for just this much gold is truly a bargain. As he completes his shopping, Chae Yiseol notices a status window indicating that player Lee Hoyong has shared 1500G with her. Panicking slightly, she asks why he suddenly gave her that. He calmly replies that she can have it, explaining that when they fought the kobolds and doppelgangers, it would have been much harder without her help. In a world where they must take lives to survive, they can still laugh and rely on each other because of her. His words imbue her with newfound determination, and Chae Yiseol declares that she will become stronger, vowing to level up her level 1 healing hand to level 2. Simultaneously, a status window appears in front of Kim Seong, informing him that player Lee Hoyong has shared 200G with him. Kim Seong, overflowing with emotion, calls Hoyong Big Bro, but Hoyong quickly tells him to stop being weird and just keep up the good work. Lee Hoyong considers that since Seong is quite competent, he might be useful if he becomes stronger, and it's always better not to have annoying people on his bad side. Kim Seong, with an overly affectionate expression and teary eyes, tells Hoyong that his wish is his command from now on, so he should just tell him what he needs. Giving him no attention, Lee Hoyong flexes his sword and thinks that the time to test his level 3 basic swordsmanship has finally come. In the valley-like area, the status window states that the 3rd floor's mission is commencing and that the mission is a siege war. It explains that this will be their first encounter with players from other regions, and their group's mission is to attack, bring down the castle, and occupy the altar. The remaining time is 24 hours, and the penalty for failing the mission is unknown. A shining purple crystal labeled Return Crystal is in Lee Hoyong's hand, and the status window mentions that he has obtained this time-limited item, usable only on the 3rd floor. Lee Hoyong examines the crystal. As everyone else gets their crystals, Lee Jae-cheol asks if this means they need to kill people, of all things. A woman looks at the crystal and questions its purpose. Lee Hoyong, staring at the status window in front of him, realizes its significance. He then calls out to Kim Seong and reminds him that he said he'd do anything he asked, causing Seong to gulp nervously. Breathing heavily as he climbs the mountain, Kim Seong mutters that Hoyong is being too much. Couldn't he just explain things properly? He could have told him that he wouldn't die for real, even if he got killed here. He recalls that the guide window clarified that on this floor, the return crystal will return him to the starting location upon death. Standing in front of the castle gate, Kim Seong remembers Hoyong's promise of 100G if he goes and does reconnaissance for them. Determined, he shouts that he'll destroy everything while he's here. As he starts hitting the castle gate, a status window indicates that the gate's durability has dropped to 81%. It continues to decrease until the gate finally opens. He steps inside. The status window states that the gate will reset in 2 seconds. Laughing, he declares that no mere castle gate can withstand his power. As the status window states that the castle gate has been restored, he looks and realizes it can be reset. He then spots 2 guards on top of the castle wall and notices something that appears to be the altar, with about 10 people around it. He recalls Hwoyong's instruction not to kill anyone there, as it would reveal the use of the return crystal. Grinning, he thinks, although he was asked not to, they're just trash scared of him, a single person. He rushes towards them, intent on destroying them all, but suddenly his nose hits something, causing it to bleed. He wonders what just happened as he looks at the blurry figures before him, realizing it could be a gun. Lee Hwoyong shouts in disbelief, asking if it's a gun. Kim Seong shouts back that it fired some kind of magic bullet that hurt like hell. Lee Hwoyong thinks that's crazy, as a gun shouldn't be a weapon obtainable at this stage. Even An Sekchang, whose class is a soldier, doesn't have a gun as a weapon. He recalls the status window mentioning the benefits of becoming the Star Killer, realizing this is going to be a tough fight. He then turns to Chae Yisil, who assures him not to worry as she's got his back. Seo Chino and others also express their readiness, giving him their support. Smiling, Lee Hwoyong says that's great and proceeds to outline his plan. Under the blue moon, a man's tears fall on the ground as he prostrates, trying his best not to shed them. A woman sits on his back yawning, while the people around her tremble in fear.